In June 1972, Bobby Kennedy Jr. finally graduated high school, 7 months before turning 19. He had spent 4 troubled years at 3 different schools, and once had to repeat his sophomore year. For Bobby and those who taught him, it was a difficult time, beginning just literally weeks after his father was gunned down, and continuing during the escalation of his drug use and other behavioral and emotional problems. After Bobby graduated and went off to Harvard, his relationship with one of many childhood sweethearts, a girl named Vicky, who still had another year at Palfrey, abruptly ended. He probably looked at me as somebody who was fun and who was pretty and who was smart, but that's about it, she told this author. However, more than a decade later, Vicky, who had become a successful Boston-area pastry chef and restaurateur, was sitting with a male friend at the bar in a popular restaurant in Cambridge's Harvard Square when she heard a voice from the distant past say, "Hi, Vicky." She turned around and it was Bobby Kennedy Jr., whom she hadn't seen since he left Palfrey. She had had no other contact with him. He said, "You've been living in Vermont and I hear you've been cooking." For some reason, he knew all this stuff about me, and it went through my head, how the hell does he know all these things? It was true. I'd lived in Vermont. I'd been to India. I'd gone halfway around the world. I thought that because of his powerful family, he had powers to find out things about me, and I wondered, why did he even care? Because Bobby had spoken so highly of the Brody family and the home's liberal atmosphere, his cousin Christopher Lawford subsequently roomed with them for about a year while he was a student at nearby Tufts University. For both of us, they were the warm, nurturing family that neither of us seemed to have, but we were looking for, Lawford later observed. In Hollywood, when Lawford visited his actor father, the two had bonded by getting stoned on marijuana. His apartment was, quote, a treasure chest of illicit substances. Bobby had also enjoyed his swinging uncle, Peter Lawford's company. Idolized by the young Kennedys, Lawford had been a member of the Hollywood Rat Pack, which included the womanizing, hard-drinking Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, the comedian Joey Bishop, and Warren Beatty's movie star sister, Shirley MacLaine, who later wrote about her encounters with UFOs and other unworldly beings. According to Patricia Seton Lawford, Lawford's fourth, much younger wife, whom he had married not long before his death, Bobby arrived on their apartment doorstep after one of the many times his mother had thrown him out of Hickory Hill. And, the good uncle that he was, Peter Lawford shared his pot stash with Bobby and escorted him to his friend Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion, where they presumably enjoyed the pleasures of the bunnies who inhabited the place. Before I read this next part of the chapter, I should probably give an explicit warning, a parental warning if you have little ones in the room. Might want to shoo them off before we get into this story. It's only for adults. Years later, Patricia Lawford, who remarried after Lawford's death, recalled a shocking scene she claimed happened as she and Bobby chatted in the living room during one of his visits. While Peter Lawford was in the bathroom showering, Bobby leaned close to her and said, "I wish you weren't married to my uncle. I'd fuck you right here on the couch." Bobby wasn't the only Kennedy who had come on to her. She recalled that in June 1980, Peter Lawford had asked her to call his ex-brother-in-law, Ted Kennedy, as a favor. And when the senator got on the phone, he said, "I hear you're the one with the big tits. The kids all told me." He then asked her when she planned to come east and campaign for him, and said that when she did so, he'd take her on a skiing date. She stopped him cold by telling the powerful U.S. Senator, "I'm married to Peter." In his later years, Peter Lawford fell on hard times. To bring in income, he had turned to leaking stories about the Kennedys and other Hollywood celebrities to the National Enquirer, a long-held secret revealed in an unpublished memoir by a veteran of the supermarket tabloid, Tony Brenna. In his book, Anything for a Headline, Brenna wrote, quote, "We had a symbiotic relationship that was unique in my career. He needed the cash offered for his cooperation, and my standing at the National Enquirer soared when I wrote stories based on his insider information. As the former husband of Pat Kennedy, Peter provided an intimate look at the triumphs and tragedies of the Kennedys' extended clan. Years later, after Peter's son, Christopher Lawford, had gotten sober through many rehab stays, he asserted, quote, "I loved getting high. I took anything and everything. Drugs were my Wheaties, my breakfast of champions. I used drugs for 17 years. His primary purpose in life, he revealed in his stark 2006 memoir, Symptoms of Withdrawal, was to be high every day from the age of 13 until he reached the age of 30. And he observed, I may have been in the second tier of the Kennedy family, but as far as the world was concerned, I was a Kennedy. Being a Kennedy meant I could get away with a lot of shit."